Imagine posting a photo online. You check it once, then again, and a few minutes later, you're checking it for the third time. One new like appears, and your mood instantly lifts. An hour passes with no comments, and suddenly you wonder if people secretly dislike you. Nothing about your life actually changed, only a number on a screen did. Yet somehow, your brain decided that number meant something about your worth. Here's the uncomfortable truth. The most socially acceptable addiction today isn't alcohol, gambling, or even social media itself. It's validation. And most people spend years chasing it without ever realizing they're addicted. Welcome to the human loop, where we uncover the invisible patterns that shape human behavior and learn how to break free. Today, we're exploring one of the most overlooked addictions of our time. It doesn't come in a bottle or a pill. It hides behind compliments, applause, likes, and approval. By the end of this video, you'll understand why this cycle is so powerful, how it quietly shapes your choices, steals your confidence, and keeps you chasing something that never truly satisfies. More importantly, you'll discover how to take that control back. Human beings have always needed acceptance. Long before cities, smartphones, or social media existed, belonging to a group wasn't simply about friendship. It was about survival. Being accepted by your tribe meant protection, food, and support. Being rejected often meant facing the wilderness alone. Although the world has changed, our brains haven't changed nearly as much. Deep inside, we're still wired to seek acceptance because, for thousands of years, acceptance meant safety. Today's tribe simply looks different. Instead of a few people gathered around a campfire, it's classmates, co-workers, family members, and even strangers online. Every notification, compliment, message, or like activates the brain's reward system. A small burst of dopamine is released, making you feel noticed, appreciated, and connected. The problem is that the feeling fades quickly. Before long, your brain starts searching for another reward, another notification, another compliment, another sign that someone approves of you. This is exactly how habits are formed. Your brain starts connecting approval with emotional comfort. The more often that connection is reinforced, the more automatic it becomes. Soon, reaching for your phone isn't even a conscious decision anymore. It's simply your brain looking for another small reward, hoping the next notification will recreate the same feeling it experienced before. Without realizing it, you begin checking your phone more often. You refresh your feed even when nothing has changed. You start wondering what people think about your appearance, your opinions, and your achievements. Gradually, your emotions become tied to reactions you can't control. That's how the cycle begins. A quick glance becomes a habit. The habit becomes an expectation. And before you notice, validation no longer feels like something that's nice to receive. It starts feeling like something you need. There's nothing wrong with wanting appreciation. It's part of being human. But when your sense of worth begins rising and falling with other people's opinions, you've taken the first step into a cycle that quietly controls far more of your life than you realize. Wanting appreciation is perfectly normal. Everyone enjoys being thanked for their effort, recognized for their achievements, or complimented for something they've done well. Those moments can strengthen relationships and encourage us to keep growing. The problem begins when approval stops being something you appreciate and starts becoming something you depend on. At first, the change is almost impossible to notice. Instead of asking yourself what you genuinely enjoy, you begin asking what other people will admire. You choose certain clothes because they'll attract compliments. You post experiences mainly because they'll be noticed. Sometimes you even hold back your real opinions because you're afraid of being judged or rejected. Slowly, your decisions stop reflecting your values and start reflecting your audience. You become more concerned with fitting in than standing out, more focused on being accepted than being authentic. Without realizing it, you're allowing other people's expectations to shape your identity. Over time, this begins affecting every part of your life. You become one version of yourself with family, another with friends, another online, and yet another at work or school. Each version is carefully adjusted to gain approval from the people around you. The more masks you wear, the harder it becomes to remember which one is actually you. The shift is so gradual that most people never notice it happening. By the time they do, they've spent years becoming someone they think everyone else wants them to be. The tragedy is that validation addiction doesn't usually feel dangerous. It often looks like confidence, ambition, or simply wanting to be liked. That's why so many people never recognize it. They spend years chasing acceptance while slowly losing the person they were, trying to improve in the first place. When your happiness depends on applause, silence begins to feel like rejection. And when your identity depends on other people's opinions, every criticism feels personal, no matter how small. That's the moment validation stops being a healthy part of life and quietly becomes the force that's leading it. One of the most deceptive things about validation is that it never stays satisfying for very long. Think back to the first compliment that genuinely made your day, or the first time one of your posts received far more attention than you expected. It probably felt exciting, maybe even unforgettable, but after enough repetition, that same amount of attention slowly becomes ordinary. Psychologists call this hedonic adaptation. It's our tendency to quickly get used to positive experiences. What once felt exciting gradually becomes normal. And once something becomes normal, the brain starts looking for something bigger, more likes, more followers, more compliments, more recognition. The target keeps moving, even though you never consciously decided to move it. Imagine climbing a mountain, only to reach the top and discover an even taller one waiting ahead. Every achievement creates a brief sense of satisfaction, but before long, your attention shifts to the next goal. You convince yourself that the next milestone will finally make you feel secure or fulfilled. This creates an endless cycle. The more approval you receive, the more approval your brain begins to expect. Instead of appreciating what you've already achieved, you become focused on maintaining it or surpassing it. The reward that once felt meaningful becomes the new minimum. The shift is so gradual that you barely notice it. What once felt like success now feels ordinary, and ordinary never feels like enough. Without realizing it, you are no longer chasing your goals. You're chasing the feeling that other people's approval gives you. It's like trying to fill a bucket with a hole in the bottom. No matter how much praise, applause, or admiration you pour into it, it never stays full for long. The problem isn't receiving too little. The problem is expecting external approval to satisfy an internal need. As long as your value depends on someone else's opinion, enough will always remain just out of reach. That's what makes the cycle so difficult to escape. It keeps promising lasting happiness while making sure you're always chasing the next hit of approval. The greatest cost of validation addiction isn't the time you spend checking your phone or refreshing your feed. It's the slow loss of your authentic self. Little by little, you begin hiding the parts of yourself that might not be accepted. You stop sharing unpopular opinions. You hold back your real thoughts. You laugh at jokes you don't find funny and agree with ideas you don't truly believe because fitting in feels safer than standing out. Over time, this becomes exhausting. Every conversation starts to feel like a performance. Instead of asking, "What do I really think?" you begin asking, "What should I say so people will like me?" Without realizing it, you are no longer expressing yourself. You're carefully managing other people's impressions of you. The hardest part is that the people around you may genuinely care about you, but they aren't always seeing the real you. They're seeing the version you've carefully shaped to earn approval. Deep down, a quiet fear begins to grow. You wonder whether people would still accept you if they saw your flaws, your doubts, or the parts of yourself you've worked so hard to hide. Living this way creates constant pressure. Every mistake feels bigger than it really is because you're afraid it might change how people see you. Instead of enjoying the present, you're constantly protecting an image you've created. The tragedy is that while you're working so hard to be accepted, your real identity is left waiting in the background. The person you truly are receives very little attention because you're too busy presenting the person you think everyone wants to see. Real confidence doesn't come from convincing everyone to like you. It comes from knowing you no longer have to pretend. The moment you stop performing for approval, you make room for genuine connection because people can only truly know you when you're willing to let them see the person behind the mask. And that's the hidden cost of validation. It doesn't just ask for your attention. If you're not careful, it slowly asks you to trade your identity in exchange for acceptance. Breaking free from validation addiction doesn't mean pretending other people's opinions don't matter. It doesn't mean rejecting compliments or isolating yourself from the people you care about. It simply means refusing to let someone else's approval become the foundation of your self-worth. The first step is surprisingly simple. Instead of asking, "Do they approve of me?" start asking, "Do I respect the person I'm becoming?" That single question shifts your focus from chasing approval to building character. One depends on the opinions of others. The other depends on the choices you make every day. Start practicing small victories that nobody else needs to see. Read a book without posting about it. Exercise without taking a photo. Learn a new skill without announcing it online. Spend a few quiet moments with your phone out of reach. At first, those moments might feel uncomfortable, but with time the discomfort begins to fade. You'll slowly discover that peace feels very different from praise. Praise is exciting, but it fades quickly. Peace is quieter. It comes from knowing that your value isn't changing every time someone agrees with you, disagrees with you, or simply doesn't notice you. This doesn't happen overnight. Like any habit, the need for validation takes time to weaken. Some days you'll still catch yourself checking for notifications or wondering what other people think. That's normal. The goal isn't perfection, it's progress. Every time you choose authenticity over approval, you're teaching your brain a healthier way to measure your worth. Validation isn't the enemy, it's part of being human. The danger begins when it becomes the voice that defines who you are. Because the moment your happiness depends entirely on someone else's opinion, you've handed them control over something that should have always belonged to you. The strongest people aren't those who receive the most applause. They're the ones who keep moving forward even when nobody is watching. When your worth comes from the person you choose to become, rather than the approval you collect, you'll discover a freedom that no number of likes or followers could ever give you.